Hello, Facebook. This is you're watching 5 9 Podcast. This is R.McTyre, your host. I am glad to be back talking to you about that one time I saw Sinners in IMAX. It was my first time, and it this was I really been looking forward to this interview because this movie was really cool. Like it was on definitely on my bucket list for things for movies to see. Um, and I stayed spoiler free. For the, I watched the trailer and then, I, I knew everyone was talking about it. People were, I kind of heard it was going to be vampires, and I was just like, it's a horror movie, but there wasn't a lot of information about it. So, you know, when it started blowing up and I started, seeing things on social media or whatever, and like where I work at, I saw a poster and dude walked up to me and said, "Oh, that's dope." I'm like, dude, people are telling me it's dope, and I haven't even seen the movie. So I'm like, all right. Um, at the time, I was really busy, and I wanted to see it. Like IMAX is every movie deserves IMAX. I see the last really good IMAX I saw was Dune. Dune was really good. I saw Dune one and Dune two. No, I'm sorry, Dune two in IMAX, and I mean, it was a stunning. It was really one of my great cinema. That and Blade Runner. Um, Top Gun was a really good movie I saw in IMAX. Yeah, Top Gun and Dunkirk. I saw that in IMAX. And Nope, of course. So when it comes to this one, yeah, uh, it came back. I think start from the 15th. Like for this week, it's back temporarily. They're doing the 70 millimeter version of IMAX, and I saw it at we have the IMAX at Universal City Walk out here in California, and it's a really very good theater. It's a great sound. It's one of it's an IMAX. Not like these other ones purporting Regal theaters and all that. Typically they say they're IMAX, but they're not really IMAX. You got to have the big screen and the sound and all that. It's not the same. So tickets were about almost $30, not including parking. But they valet parking, so it was actually not too bad. Um, so you know, uh, so Ryan Coogler, my experience, uh, you know, I love Creed. Like Ryan Coogler for me as a director, I really love how music has been playing like these huge parts in his movies, like Creed. I haven't seen Fruitvale Station, but Creed was a really good movie. Like the story, the sound, the premise. I thoroughly enjoyed Creed, Black Panther, of course. Um, Definitely one of my favorite movies. Um, and I just am really liking how Coogler incorporates music in his movies. Um, and like I say, Ludwig Göransson, his that his collaborations with him have been really really cool. Um, you know, so I see the movie, and immediately, when I watch a movie, a movie starts to work on you, starts to tell you the rules of the world, and so kind of starts with the folklore to kind of set you up, kind of seeing what you're getting into. Um, it's cool. It's a cool setup. And this is a spoiler, you know, so it sets up, we're in this world where there's folklore. So you haven't seen the movie, definitely go see it. But it was a nice slow. Like I don't mind movies with a slow build up, but don't be boring. So like, and then it introduces like the premise of, well, not the premise, but like, so Michael B. Jordan is playing his own twin, right? Like, this is such a flex. Like he didn't have to cast. You could have casted like two guys playing different roles and it would have worked just the same. But what a flex! Like, the fact that we see them and they're dressed different, and one smokes the cigarette and then passes it to the other guy to smoke, and then there's cigarette smoke in between them. I mean that I mean that's not a new thing, but obviously it I mean what a flex, to for especially for Michael B. Jordan to be playing his own twin. I mean, you know, that's some really, cool movie star type shit. You know what I'm saying? I'll get into Michael B. Jordan later more because yeah, yeah, he did him right on this one. Um, so as the movie progresses, it's a slow build up. We get introduced to the twins. What really struck me was the whole idea of they're from Chicago. They work for Capone and they're hustlers. They have money, they're business people, and there's this negotiation of what they feel that they're owed, right? So every single situation, they're using not just money, but they're using their smarts to hustle, and I really like that aspect of that. These are smart businessmen who come into a town and want to own a business and a juke joint, and I see that there are themes of ownership in this movie. Not just like, and I'll get on Ryan Coogler in his incredible deal where he negotiated, ownership of the movie within 25 years. So there's a theme of ownership which goes in the movie and also extends out to outside the movie, and he has retained his final cut as a director. I mean, wow. And one of the things I really liked, this is an R-rated movie. This, this is a movie for grown-ups, and it's a standout, especially um, this movie is, and I mean, I say this with LOVE, pardon the pun, but this movie is horny. It's sexy. Like adults are doing adult stuff in this movie. Like it's not just called Sinners and there's no sin in it. There are things going, infidelity and I mean there is, sex in this movie. And when you look at, I give this movie, do you remember the Marvel movie Eternals? Eternals has probably what the first sex scene um that's been in Marvel, right? And you don't actually ever show the sex. Uh it was very antiseptic. It was very like like I don't know. It's just like I don't know. There's an appeal to try to appeal to other countries or whatever, but there's this definitely of of I don't know what it is of not showing sexuality. Especially as many references as there are to you know to eating out. You know what I'm saying? Like, yeah, it was like really like, okay, you don't really see that much in movies these days. And I'm like, yeah, okay, that's what's up. Um, so yeah, it was a really, sexy movie. And so yeah, no, it's great. Um, and shout out to the cinematographer. Her name is I don't try to mess up her name. Autumn Ark Arkapaw. She's a cinematographer. I'm sorry if I'm messing up her name, but um, what struck me was like, this was an IMAX movie, shot in IMAX. She consulted with Hoyte Van Hoytema, who's worked on Nope and is Christopher Nolan's cinematographer. What struck me was like, was in the scenes where it's night, like right here. I use the background from the juke joint. It's dark, it's dark, and it's what I really like is that it's dark and that I enjoy that, the night scenes look like night and, and the wide shots look, they really work. Um, shout out to Ludwig Grosson, like there are scenes in here where music tells is every bit a character in this movie. He worked collaborated, like I say, with Ryan Coogler on Creed, Black Panther. Um, The scene that stopped the movie for me, that made this movie ascend to legendary status, was that scene. I'm talking to everybody who's seen the movie, okay? The scene, the ancestor scene, where um, they're playing the song "I Lied to You," and the song transcends and it breaks through the dimensions, and now we have people from different eras and the ancestors, and it's just such a high concept. Like when you're thinking about like an abstract high concept made real, but done in such an incredible way. Um, and then it and then it crescendoing into like the barn burning down, and the vampires are outside watching this happen, and it's all kind of, I would say, spiritual. Um, I see what's going on, and I admire the ambition as to conceiving the scene and following it all the way through. The way it's shot in a oneer, the camera is moving and moving in different ways, and the way everything happens, and you see different cultures, and it's such a, you know, celebration of music, and um, I was riveted with that scene. I've never seen anything like it. Um, Ryan Coogler is definitely, ascended to another level, in terms of his skill set. So, kudos for them for going over that. That scene, I'm telling you, Oscar wise, that's going to probably win Best Original Score or be nominated. Shout out to Ruthie Carter, who is the costumer, that Ryan used for Black Panther, and she also did the costumes. And everyone's costumes are distinct to their characters, and they're well thought out. So, um, this is a very beautiful movie. Um, some facts: the movie had a budget of 90 million, and as of now, the box office is 316.8 million and a 97% Rotten Tomatoes score. Um, my God, it's a smash hit, and so the movie stars Michael B. Jordan and Wunmi Mosakan, right? So you have Killmonger and the TVA agent getting it on. I mean, sure, why not? Okay. Omar Benson played Cornbread. I love seeing him in that and stuff. Holly Steinfeld played the girlfriend. Buddy Guy, an actual real life musician, was you know incorporated into this movie in such a brilliant way. Del Rey Lindo played Delta Slim, and he does a great job as always. Jack O'Connell played the main antagonist, Remick, the vampire. Very menacing, and I know he has a background of Irish, folk music, and they really like, even like the Irish, that part right there, like it was so good. Like it wasn't just, we're not showing one aspect of the blues, and we're showing like the other half, what they're so well done. You know what I'm saying? It wasn't like one was better than the other. It was such, I mean, I really like, I enjoyed the Irish stuff. I enjoyed the blues. I am a music person, you know what I'm saying? I love music. Um, the only thing I love more than music is really great sound, or how the music is presented with great sound. Um, and Miles Canton, him, his vocals and his guitar and his playing. I mean, you know, like what I my takeaway is that this movie is full of just. I mean, I know there's the word talent gets thrown around quite a bit these days, but I mean, there's real talent in this movie. Like, musicianship and acting. It's, even behind the scenes. I mean, it's just everybody is cooking in this movie. And so, so I say that to say, I noticed like, let's just call it, there are movies that just inspired by, like, those are immediately reminding me of From Dusk Till Dawn, which is one of my favorite movies of all time. From Dusk Till Dawn, I love that movie. Where it starts off as one thing, and then all of a sudden we're in another movie. We're in a, um, The Thing. there's a part where they have to, they're eating garlic and to see who's the vampire, who's not the vampire, and creating the whole tension. Um, you know, so that was great. And I really like the spin on vampires. And we all in this particular instance, vampires were the culture vulture. Were literally culture vultures, right? Where you become like the vampires in this really like have had a really good pitch. Like, you know, you can become a vampire and party with us forever, right? It don't have to be like, you don't have to die. You know what I'm saying? And the vampires, but the thing is like the vampires are part of a collective and they know everything you know. So they were really trying to get this one guy and turn him into a vampire so they could, you know, enjoy his culture. Or, like they wasn't just blood sucking blood; they're sucking the culture. Let me say that again. They weren't just sucking blood; they were sucking culture itself. Think about that for a second. Like, all right, so that is insidiously evil. Like, oh my God. Um, so anyways, like, you know, there's what I noticed is there's this new movement. Well, I won't call it a movement, but black horror movies are definitely having a moment. There's Get Out, um, Nope, obviously. Um, Tales from the Hood. Everybody remember Tales from the Hood? I'm just naming a few. And and there's a movie coming out called Him, which is the psychological thriller produced by Jordan Peele about a football player, which looks incredible. I can't wait to see that. Um, but there's definitely a definitely black horror is having a moment, and I just so there's these intellectually interesting thrillers that are coming that are just well shot and well executed. I'm so for it. Um, let's talk about Ryan Coogler and his deal. So he uh, will get the rights of this movie in 25 years, right? This is an example of betting on yourself. He totally bet on himself with this film. Um, if it had turned into not a success, um, hey, but he bet big on himself on this movie, right? Um, and so what I see, and then there's a thing, the media, it made it a thing because it's like, okay, he bet on himself, and this movie, is going to get the rights, and there's a certain, people are. I just feel that we're taken aback, and they're like really looking at the numbers, and the movie's finally getting promoted. Because I feel like when it was when they were trying to show the trailers and all that, it wasn't really promoting the film until the movie spoke for itself, and word of mouth made it this phenomenon. Um, what I see is that there is what shows evident in the movie is sort of this black humbling, I would say, where it's like you can be successful but not too successful. You know, Black Wall Street. You know what I'm saying? You know, um, where we, blacks got their own community and built their own businesses, and then we were actually content to just do our thing and be successful. But then, other, white people seen that were jealous and came in and tore that down, right? So in the movie, again, these brothers are all about ownership, which is really, which I'm all for. They're about owning their juke joint, their business, right? Ownership is a theme that goes out this movie, right? Um, so what I see, to not get off too far off topic, when I see what happened with, I follow Coach Prime and Shador Sanders when Shador at the fifth round became 144th overall draft pick of the Cleveland Browns, considering everything he's done. I mean, he should have been the number one draft pick, but instead, there's this, humbling, which, even with Muhammad Ali, it was like, you can back up your actions with your skill. There's this whole, we don't want you to climb so high. So that's why, Ryan Coogler distinctively as one of the few black directors who, who are of note, who have, been have had the success he has, you know, there is just this whole, you know, uh, you know, we want you to succeed, but not succeed that much, or and it's just quite an insidious thing, and I will be glad when there's a time when people will truly be able to succeed without people pointing fingers like, oh, look, that one. Whereas like if you're of any other culture, you're Armenian or white or whatever or Jewish, and you succeed, it's not really a big deal. But if you're black, you happen to be the anomaly like all the time, and not just the anomaly, you're pointed out and as the anomaly, by others. So it's very um, an interesting sort of thing that I noticed that was going on. But yeah, so themes of ownership, so this is gonna be one of them ones. This is gonna be one of the movies where it's like, come, every what horror, every October, you will be seeing people dressing up as these characters. It's going to be a cult classic. Yeah, I said it. It's going to be a cult classic. It's going to be one of those movies where it's like, if it's one of those movies where if you're not doing anything, people are going to be watching this movie. It's not going away. So no, they got a hit. So so Sinners. If I was to give it a ranking, let me see, what out of 10 ranking, I give it. Let's see, out of 10, I give it a 9 point. I give it a solid 9 out of 10. Only I take it down because I felt like there's a post credit scene which I think Ryan Coogler is going from his bag from working on Marvel flicks, where it's like then you see the buddy guy, and I mean it's good, but I just thought it was a little much. So I just deduct the point for that because I think it was already a kind of a long movie and he kind of made his point. I think that was a little excessive. Otherwise, it was a perfect movie. So I will say that. Let me know what you think. Did you see Sinners, and what's your take on it? Let me know. Take care. Peace.